Hey guys, we are here. You can see my face. Finally, it's been a long time since I actually got in front of the camera and started talking. We're going to go over the 2024 Oscars for the movies that came out in 2023. We're just going to go over my Oscar predictions. There was people doing predictions for the nominations, and I was like, that's just way too far. But the short lists came out for each category this morning, and I'm just going to go over the categories of who I think is going to win and things of that nature. I only did the categories of movies and movies and categories that like I care about and like things that I've seen. I don't really care about hairstyle or makeup or stuff like that. I've only done the categories where I think there's going to actually be a clear winner and stuff I'm actually interested about. But before we get into that, what I wanted to say, and this is like kind of maybe my spiel on the Oscars and award season and things of that nature. I've talked myself like in the mirror, and I've talked myself like out loud in the shower, where I had this perfect spiel about the Oscars and what I wanted to say and what I don't think needed to be said, but at least like, this is my YouTube channel, this is my platform, so I can say whatever I want to say. What I really wanted to give off the impression of is that this stuff doesn't matter. The Oscars don't matter, okay? The award season, the Emmys, the Golden Globes, the Oscars, any other award season, the BAFTAs or whatever, it doesn't matter. This stuff doesn't matter. And the reason I say that is because these movies, we can give out awards to movies all day long. Even actually, like, movies are hard to make, and all the nominations for each of these categories, they worked very hard for, editing. They worked very hard for cinematography. They worked very hard for sound editing and things of that nature. Movies are difficult to make. So it's not that like when a movie wins, that is like the best thing. If whatever movie wins Best Picture, March 10th, which is like two months away or a month and a half away, that doesn't necessarily mean that is the best movie of that year of 2023. And what kind of that bleeds into is that like, it really doesn't matter what movie wins, right? It doesn't matter what movie wins best editing, or I'm sure there's some sort of objective truth to some of these things. My thought is that do not take the fun out of movies. Don't take the fun out of movies trying to predict in all the nominations or get upset that a movie was snubbed or something along those lines. That just takes all the fun out of these things. When you watch a movie, what you should be coming out of the movie with is, wow, how was I changed? How did I feel about the themes? There's a lot of good, impactful stuff in that movie. What you shouldn't come out of a movie with is, I bet that movie's going to win Best Sound Editing, or I bet that movie's going to win Best Picture, or I hope that movie doesn't get snubbed at the Oscars. That just takes the fun out of it. That takes the fun and meaning out of movies. Movies is like the best medium of all time. Video games, television, movies, art, to video. It's the best medium to convey a story and convey impactful themes to an audience. Movies are meant to change and start dialogues between people. If you come out of a movie changed and thinking about something and interested in a different topic or a certain historical thing or whatever, or you come out of a movie thinking, wow, I need to be a better person or something along those lines, that's what that movie's for. That's what movies are for. That's why that movie was made. It doesn't matter about sound editing. At some point, it doesn't matter. At some point, like sound editing, cinematography, the performances, whatever, they all add to if a movie is good or not, and all add to the ethereal things that if a movie, you come out of it thinking, okay, that was a good movie or something along those lines. But bottom line is that if a movie changes you, if a movie moves you, if a movie gets you starting to have conversations with people about life, that's what it's meant for. That's what it'll always be for. So I just wanted to give off that spiel, and it sounded way better in my head, and then now like word vomiting out to a microphone and camera. It may not sound as clear and crisp and concise as I thought it was going to, but my ending thoughts before we go back on everything I just said and actually go through the nominations who I think is going to win, I just wanted to say to the camera, hey, if you were moved by a movie that doesn't show up in any of these categories it doesn't make your experience with that movie any less impactful. If you got over something, or if you had an emotional cathartic moment with something in your life because of a movie, that's what matters. That's what matters. Not, if you jumped up and woohoo for a an Oscar nomination, that's what matters. If a movie gave you an emotional reaction, positive or negative, because of the themes and the ideas and the creative aspects of that movie, then the movie has done its job. I just think that movies and Oscars nowadays are just becoming like this award, baiting for awards, baiting for Oscars, because that's what gives them more publicity, that's what gives them more money, that's what gives them more, it goes down more in history, I guess. But if a movie moves you, if a movie impacts you, that's what matters. We are 6 minutes in and we haven't even started. Okay, let's get into the Oscar nominations. I probably should have notes in the description saying okay, if you actually want to hear my thoughts, then here you go. I'm kind of looking backwards here because it's the only way that I can put my tripod, but that doesn't matter. So starting off with original score, and again, like I said, I'm not going to go through every category, but starting with the original score, I think Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I think John Williams has this one in the bag. They're gonna give him probably his one last final Oscar. Here you go, buddy. As he's laying on his deathbed, here you go, here's the golden man. Probably John Williams is gonna win this one. I think they only added Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny in this category simply just to give John Williams the score, because obviously he's one of the best composers, maybe the best composer of all time. Best adapted screenplay and best original screenplay. I'm kind of putting these two together because screenplays, this was almost left on the cutting room floor. I don't know exactly how to gauge screenplays, but I do have some sort of nominations and predictions of who's going to win. American Fiction, I think, is going to win best adapted screenplay. It's nominated for Best Picture. It's nominated for a couple other things, but I think it's only going to win a Best Adapted Screenplay. I haven't seen the movie, and there's a lot of movies on these categories and on these lists that I haven't seen, but I think that's what Best Adapted Screenplay is where it's going to go. Best Original Screenplay, I have May December. Still have not seen that movie, but the other movies listed here are listed somewhere else, and May December, this is one of, if not the only category it was listed in. So I think if it's gonna win something, it's gonna be here. Best Animated Feature Film, and like I said, we skipped a lot of categories. Best Animated Feature Film, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Somehow was not nominated for Best Picture, somehow was not even nominated for Best Score. But I think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse has to take home animated feature film. The way the movie was created and how long it took, and all the different the way that they animated different characters separate to other characters, separate to the background. It's just an amazing movie, fantastic film, and I think it definitely has in the bag. Now we kind of get into interesting ones, very interesting ones. Best Actor in a Supporting Role. RDJ, I think, has this one. His performance in Oppenheimer was probably the best, and this is my first Oppenheimer prediction in these categories. He has to win it, right? he has to win it, right? Best Actress in a Supporting Role, this one I'm not very too keen on. I'm not exactly too sure. My vote was Danielle Brooks from The Color Purple. That movie was nominated for a lot of things, but I think this is the thing that's going to win. I think they like giving historical dramas and things of that nature, the sort of realm that The Color Purple is adding to. I think they like to give that to supporting actors and actresses, so I think Danielle Brooks is going to win that one. Production design, Barbie and or Poor Things could win, or Napoleon. I think Poor Things has a fantastic production design, from the makeup and hairstyling to the costume design, and I know that those are two different categories that I didn't mention or am not going to mention, but I think production design, the thing that brings it all together in that movie, definitely going to win. The cinematography for that movie is great, but I think it's only great because of the production design. film editing, this one is the most like not too sure. It's kind of weird because I want to be a film editor and I'm not exactly too sure which one would win. As I was going through like what I should say in these in these categories and in this video, bad editing is very noticeable. Good editing is pretty noticeable, maybe, but great editing not noticeable at all. And all of these movies had great editing, fantastic editing, because they're 5 of the best movies that came out this past year. So if it's like this is a good movie, obviously the good movie is going to have good editing. A good movie does not have bad editing, in most cases probably. There's probably like several people like watching this or be like, that's not necessarily too sure. It's normally sure. Visual effects, this one they love putting like the blockbuster Marvel movies in, but the creator with its spaghetti thin budget, I think the creator has to win this. The visual effects for that movie, the cinematography for that movie is actually fantastic as well. The creator has to win this. It has to win visual effects. The way that the visual effects and the everything, the VFX, everything that was like layered on that movie is just fantastic. And I think it only adds to like the razor thin budget that they had. Cinematography, this one's tough. My maybe thought is Poor Things, and this is probably, I think this is the first and only one that I have like, maybe this one will win. This is my choice, but this is also my choice. My runner-up, very close, is Poor Things. I think that the Academy will absolutely adore this movie. Not as much as Oppenheimer, but I think it will absolutely adore this movie. And my other one is not actually Oppenheimer, but I was just giving that comparison. Maestro, I think, is not going to do very well at the Oscars because everybody thinks that Bradley Cooper was Oscar baiting with this movie. You know, referring back to my previous dialogue about Oscar baiting and coming out of the movie thinking, oh, that's just Oscar baiting, whatever. But I do think that Maestro is going to win this. The Academy loves black and white movies. They absolutely love them with a different aspect ratio. So I think Maestro is going to take that one home. Now we get into like the really important stuff. None of this stuff is as important as the others. Actor in a leading role. Obviously, Cillian Murphy is going to win for Oppenheimer easily. I do see in an alternate universe Paul Giamatti winning, because the Holdovers, at least in my nominations and selections, the Holdovers has not really been winning a whole lot, but I do see Cillian Murphy taking home Oppenheimer, best leading actor role, whatever. Best actress in a leading role. I don't think there's a whole lot of great options here, but the option that sticks out to me the most is Emma Stone in Poor Things. I've heard so many good things about her performance and how it bounces off other actors and off the production design and off like the direction that she was given. Emma Stone probably is going to take home Poor Things. Best director, and this is the second to last category that I have. I think it's definitely going to go to Oppenheimer. I don't know if there's a slight chance that Martin Scorsese could win it, and I don't know if there's a slight chance that Yorgos Lanthimos can win it for Poor Things. I seriously think that Oppenheimer is going to clean up at the Oscars because it was nominated, I think, for the most categories. And I think that, you know, supporting role, in a leading role, best director, this has to go to Christopher Nolan. It has to, like, it absolutely has to. Oppenheimer. And I also think when I you know, moving into Best Picture, that they have about 10 nominations roughly, but only 5 Best Directors. And I think it's funny that they do that because obviously you can't necessarily win the Best Picture without getting the Best Director. So I think it's going to go to Christopher Nolan and Oppenheimer. And then continuing with that, you know, with that kind of story, Oppenheimer is going to win for Best Picture. I think Oppenheimer is going to clean up at the categories at the Oscars. It's definitely going to win Best Picture. It's definitely going to win Best Director. It's definitely going to win leading role. The other ones I'm just not exactly too sure about. But this, honestly, the nominations weren't too bad. There's a lot of movies I haven't necessarily heard of, and some movies that just came out in the last couple months. So obviously, it's like the best movies come out in the later part of the year for this sort of like Oscar ordeal, but I do think that Oppenheimer's going to take home Best Picture and then all my other nominations. Now, am I going to be right? Hopefully, but if I'm wrong, am I going to be pissed off? No, because that's not what movies are about. I'm not trying to take away from the fun that people may have nominating different things and, you know, whatever, or watching Oscars and instead of celebrating all the different movies, rather getting upset that their favorite movie was snubbed or getting upset that a certain movie did win. That's not fun to me. I don't see that as fun. But if you do have fun with that sort of thing, if you do have fun with anything that that I criticize, go ahead. I'm just talking to you guys about movies, so it's really not that big of a deal. So I appreciate you guys listening, watching, having fun with me, going through my Oscar nominations. Remember, movies are made to inspire, entertain, and move and give people an emotional reaction. They are or should not be made to win a little statue. I think that's like very low on the totem pole of things that actually matter with movies. But thank you guys so much for listening, watching, having fun with me. I think the Oscar nominations was really just my Trojan horse of trying to talk to you guys about my thoughts and ideas about award season. But nevertheless, thank you guys so much for listening, watching, having fun with me, talking about Oscar nominations, talking about different movies. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video or podcast episode. Peace.